you mind if we park for a while?
That's a great idea. I'd love to park.
Huh?
Marty, I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
What?
Marty, you seem so nervous. Is something wrong?
No. Lorraine, what are you doing?
I swiped it from the old lady's liquor cabinet.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't drink.
Why not?
Because you might regret it later in life.
Marty, don't be such a square. Everybody who's anybody drinks.
Geez, you smoke too?
Marty, you're beginning to sound just like my mother.
A long, long time ago. Actually, it was only 4 years ago. That year, 2021. I thought of a podcast idea. It was so much fun that first year that I figured I would do it again. The next 2 years I did the sequels. Compared to the first, there are no equals. The fourth year, as you all know, was that silly cartoon show. And when March 31st arrived, I wouldn't say I almost cried, but I thought it best to decide to say my last goodbye. But I lied about Marchy McFly, said that last year was the last year and that the show had died. But I found a way to keep the podcast alive, and I'm gonna call it Marchy McFIVE. I'm gonna call it Marchy McFIVE. Yeah, I lied about Marchy McFly, said that last year was the last year and that the show had died. But I found a way to keep that podcast alive, and I welcome you to Marchy McFIVE. Get to the dance after dark, and then you ask her to park, Lorraine. But you never would guess she would actually say yes, Lorraine. Yes, she parks and she drinks and she smokes, Lorraine.
Bing bong bang, biddy boop bap bap boo, biddy bee bap boo, beep boop bap biddy boo. Happy Saturday, everybody! Happy March 22nd. Happy day 22 of Marchy McFly. Happy day 22 of Marchy McFive. I'm here for the 22nd day I almost said 22nd day in a row talking about Back to the Future. But before I get into that, I want to tell you about yesterday. Yesterday was a big day in my life because I got a wonderful gift in the mail. A wonderful gift from a wonderful friend, also a wonderful guest on Marchy McFly and on Geek Mentality as a whole, my friend Eric, a 10-time Geek Mentality guest and a 5-time Marchy McFly guest. He he messaged me and said he sent me a little something, and I was like, ooh. And he said, oh, it's not much. It's not much. But it is much. And it is something that I appreciate greatly and I love and I'm wearing right now. A while back, I don't know exactly what day it was, but it was the day where the woman from the clock tower comes up and, begs Marty and Jennifer for money because, she wants to save the clock tower. And I mentioned that she had this button on that says save the clock tower. And I thought to myself, well, I wonder if someone made a button like that. I bet they did. And then I found a link to an Etsy. I searched and I found it on Etsy and I mentioned it. And wouldn't you know that yesterday in the mail arrived this very pin. Eric, my friend, I cannot thank you enough for this gift. I love it and I appreciate you and I appreciate it so very much. And I appreciate you coming last night to my wife's 50th birthday party. Yes, I told you that last night was going to be a big night. Last night was my wife's birthday party. I threw a big one for her. It was the big 50. I don't think she minds saying it because she's 50 and nifty. And I'll be there in about a year and, so many months. I mean, I know I sound youthful, but with like a very, like an air of maturity. But yeah, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing it too. I mean, look, there's age. A man once told me, a wise man with muscles who was on another podcast once told me or posted a picture of muscles and said age is but a number. And I tend to agree with him because, nobody tells you like, oh, by the way, when you get old, it just kind of happens. Like you're not going to feel different. You're not going to be like, I'm an adult now. I'm a grown up. It just kind of happens. So it's like, oh my goodness, I'm 30. Oh my goodness, I'm 40. Oh my goodness, I will be 50 eventually. Eventually. I'm not there yet. She's a cradle robber, but I will get there. And guess what? I will be the exact same man-child that I am today at the young and very relevant age of 48. But the party was great. The place we had, I'll tell you, it's called the Irish Cottage. It's a restaurant in my hometown, and it was everything was perfect. It was the same place where Eric and I had our high school reunion, and the people there were the same people who actually took care of us that night. It was like 2 people, and they like took care of everything. They were the bartenders, they were the servers, they helped clean things up. I mean, we brought stuff. I brought flowers and vases and signs and pictures, and they're like, let me help you set this up, and let me help you set this up. I mean, I couldn't have been more taken care of. And then the party was a hit. We laughed, we ate, we danced. I did not drink a single bit of alcohol, but if you saw me, you would have thought, oh my goodness, he's on cocaine, because I was thrilled that it finally happened. And when the music hit, I just was like all over the place dancing, just because I'm the type of person where if you have me in front of a bunch of strangers, I might be, kind of quiet. I might be low key. It might take me a while to warm up. And out dancing, I would just kind of dance, real like I'm just going to dance normally. But you put me in front of family and friends that I know or I've known my entire life, and I have no problem acting like a complete buffoon. And like at one point, my niece, she's a freshman in high school, and I'm dancing around her, and she's like, "Uncle, you're embarrassing yourself." And I was like, yes, I am. And I would go for a high five, and she'd just push my hand down. And it was awesome. I loved it. And my wife, I mean, the most important thing is my wife had an amazing, amazing time. And to the point where she got home and she was like, she just wanted to keep talking, like, this was great, and I want to go through the pictures and this and this. And I just went, that is wonderful. Boom. I was out for the count. But all in all, just an amazing night, and I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out. And that's why I did the show so early yesterday, so I had time to take care of everything. And we have so much leftover food that I'm going to be eating. I know what I'm eating for dinner tomorrow and possibly the next night. And who knows, maybe nights after that. But okay, enough about that. Enough about this gosh dang party. Look, I mean, it's making me swear. It's getting me I am ready to move on and talk about day 22 of Marchy McFIVE, where today I'm talking about minutes 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 18 seconds to 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 53 seconds. Yes, a proper 3 minutes and 35 seconds today. This was a good block, a good segment with really another classic scene in a movie. I'm saying, how many times can you say, oh, here's a classic scene or a classic moment? Well, guess what? When you have a movie that's this good, it has a ton of them. And I feel like I've almost had 22 of them. Not every single moment is classic. They might have classic moments in it. But this is one of the ones that when people talk about Back to the Future, this is part of it. And I guess there's another part that's probably going to be tomorrow. But this is the beginning of it. And it's all focused on Lorraine. But before we get there, Marty, it picks up, where yesterday Doc was all excited about, he can't believe he's going to get to live to do this. And Marty tries to tell Doc now, in this segment, he's like, about the future, about the night that I come back. He's like, nope. He doesn't want to hear anything of it. He's like, even if your intentions are good, knowing too much about the future can backfire drastically. He's like, whatever you can tell me, whatever you want to tell me can wait, and I'll find out through the natural course of time. Marty said, okay, then I'm going to go get a bite to eat and a coffee and a sandwich before going to the dance. I mean, I think it's a sandwich he's eating. I'm not entirely sure, but all of a sudden Marty's at the diner, Lou's diner, and he's got a bottle of ink. He's got a pen. He's got a piece of paper, and he is writing a letter, and he is actually saying what he's writing out loud to help, us, the audience, know it's not inner monologue. It is literally him out loud reading this letter to himself.
Dear Dr. Brown, on the night that I go back in time, you will be shot by terrorists. Please take whatever precautions are necessary to prevent this terrible disaster. Your friend, Marty.
Imagine if you're the waitress and you go up to refill his cup of coffee, and all of a sudden you hear him saying that. You're like, honey, is everything all right? Like, what are you talking about? And then he takes the letter and he puts it in an envelope, and it's actually a Lou's diner envelope. So actually, he probably got the pen, the paper, the ink, and the envelope in Lou's diner. He's like, did he go in and go, hey, maybe he went there thinking, okay, I need to write a letter. I'll go to the only place that's open is this diner. And he goes in, he's like, hey, can I borrow a piece of paper and also a pen? And do you have some ink? And can I have an envelope? And I'm sure Lou was like, you again? Are you going to order something or not? And he's like, okay, fine. That's why he has the meal. So maybe he has the meal in order to, ask nicely and get all that writing equipment, the pen, the ink, because it's not just take out a ballpoint pen. He had to get some sort of, I don't know, a fountain pen, is that what they're called? And the ink and the envelope. And he wrote on the envelope, do not open till 1985. I wish that he signed the letter, your friend in time. But, alas, Doc comes up with that sign off in the future. Or, well, I guess the past. So we jump over to Doc Brown. He's working on, looks like he's tightening one of the wires. And a police officer comes up and he's like, evening, Dr. Brown. What are you working on there? And Doc's like, a weather experiment. And the guy goes to take the top off the DeLorean. He's like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. And the cop's like, I guess you have a permit for that? He's like, of course I do. And he gets off the ladder and he's like, it's around here somewhere. Now they're in the background now, and you see Doc open his wallet. And as you see that in the background, Marty slips the letter into Doc's jacket, the pocket of Doc's jacket that is lying on top of the DeLorean. And that's the regular scene ends there. So we assume, oh, Doc has a permit for that. That's great. But he's opening his wallet. And actually, that scene ran a little longer. And I am grateful. I wish they kept part of it. I am grateful they cut most of it.
You got a permit for that?
Of course I do.
So that's the regular scene. It kind of runs as it normally does. Marty puts the letter in the envelope. Then it cuts to Doc pulling a $50 bill out of his wallet.
Aha.
You aren't going to set anything on fire this time, are you, Doc?
So this police officer obviously has experience with Doc, and Doc knows he can be bribed. So I think that would have worked if they kept that in. It would have shown, well, it kind of ends with, oh, Doc obviously has a permit. Like he says, of course I do. And it just, the way he says it, when you see the longer scene, you're like, he's being like, yes, sure, I have a permit. Almost like they've played this game before. What's the permit? What exactly is the permit? It's a $50 bill. And I think keeping that in would have worked just fine. After that, there's a longer conversation with Marty before Marty's off to go pick up Lorraine. And all of this could go. All of this, I'm glad they cut out, especially because it is just, there's a old-fashioned homophobic joke that just doesn't even land exactly. I guess the joke kind of lands because of the 50s and what the word meant back then, but the use, like Marty actually using the term and saying it in like, oh no, the worst thing that could happen in the world is, and I'm glad they got rid of that, because for years I think that would have been another thing with the chloroform that would have tarnished this movie a slight bit. It's like, do we really need that? That's not very, it's like not a very, it's like a mean joke for the sake of being mean, no other reason. But again, it's a 17-year-old in 1985 might actually think that. But I'm glad in the end that they did not include this part of the scene.
Hey, kid, you better pick up your mom and get going.
Yeah, right.
You look a little pale. Are you okay?
Yeah, I don't know, Doc. I mean, it's just this whole thing with my mother.
What?
I just don't know if I can go through with it. Hitting on her.
Nobody said anything about hitting her. You're just gonna take a few liberties with her.
See, that's what I mean. I mean, God, can't believe I'm actually gonna feel up my own mother. This is the kind of thing that could screw me up permanently. Well, what if I go back to the future and I end up being gay?
Why shouldn't you be happy?
So quick domestic violence and homophobic joke.
I gotta go pick up my mother.
Good.
Listen, if things don't work out at the dance tonight and my folks don't get back together, when do you think I'll start to fade out?
Beats the shit out of me.
And that last one, now that is at least kind of funny. It's like Doc, who you think is prepared and knows everything and plans for everything, will be like, well, precisely this. Instead, he's like, well, beats the shit out of me. But it trivializes it too much. And I guess the joke is, back in the 50s, they don't know what hitting on means. So he's like, no one says you're going to hit her. And then the gay joke, which is like, oh, it means happy and fun. And it's like, yeah, we get it. But it is like, I get the purpose or the point of the joke, but it's like Marty's, the hitting on one isn't really a big deal because he doesn't mean that. But they're like, what if I turn gay? It's like, you know what? Better off in the long run for the longevity even of this movie and even then it would have been like, it's almost like the frat boy, like, oh man, that would be crazy. Like, I'm glad all in all that joke was removed. I'm glad that whole scene was removed. It didn't really add anything except, it did show that Marty is quite nervous about going to pick up his mom. But we see that in the very next scene anyway. And it's funny because listening to it, it almost like sounds like a guy doing a Michael J. Fox impression. It's like, I can't believe I'm going to do this, hitting on my mom. Just all in all, I am glad. So far, I feel like the deleted scenes I have talked about, which I'm sure I'd covered completely back in 2021. I know I did, but I am glad. Like, there's nothing where I said, oh, I wish they kept that in, except maybe the bribe. Other than that, I'm glad everything else was on the cutting room floor. So we jump over to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, and we see on stage Marvin Berry and the Starlighters, the band of the dance, the classic Marvin Berry, very famous. He has a very famous cousin, and this is the first time in my entire life that I noticed the amplifier is on an upside down Pepsi box, a case of Pepsi. I've never noticed that in 40 years of watching this movie until today. It is a 4-piece band. We have the stand-up bass, the drummer, the saxophonist, and the lead man himself, Marvin Berry, your cousin Marvin. He is playing guitar and he's the lead singer. Now we just see the dance. We see a lot of kids really dressed up. I mean, I guess this is like a semi-formal prom sort of thing. And what an ornate dance it is. I mean, this really is Enchantment Under the Sea. Giant seashells and coral and lights. I mean, if my high school did something like this, we'd have a picture of the Little Mermaid poster on the wall, and it'd be like, there it is, there's your Enchantment Under the Sea, or and maybe a splash playing on a TV screen. So it pans over and it cuts to these feet we see dancing along on the basketball court floor of the dance, and it pans up, and there is George McFly, and he's got moves, and he's got a great look. I wouldn't say a tuxedo, but he is wearing a bow tie. I don't see a cummerbund, but it's very close to a tuxedo, if not a tuxedo, with a white jacket. He could be formal. He could be at a wedding. He could be a waiter. It just he could do all of it. And if he took the jacket off, he could be a boxing referee. In the background is a giant statue of like Neptune or Poseidon. I don't know exactly, but I don't know who decorated this dance, but they should get an award. I don't know if they have that. Like they have the Dancy Awards, and the winner for the best dance, decorations for the 17th year in a row, it's Hill Valley High School. And you see there's a teacher there who really takes it seriously. It's like, yes, yeah, he's the art teacher by day, and he dreams about the dance, the dance decorations by night. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Vice Principal Strickland for allowing me, the budget of $60,000 for this dance. And I want to thank the students who had to forego all their classes and haven't seen their family in months for us creating these decorations. Let's see if we can do it again next year. And then there's 4 people in the audience, and it's his family. They're like, yeah, okay, Dad, you did it again. Great. This is great. So anyway, George is, dancing, and he's kind of watching the clock, and he realizes it's almost not quite 8 o'clock yet. Actually, we don't see him look at the clock yet, but he's watching it. We don't see the clock, but he's watching it. And that is when we see this beautiful white convertible with the top up pull into the parking lot. And I'm not quite sure. They just kind of park. I guess it's a parking space. It looks like they almost park on the grass. And we see Lorraine and Marty. So I played that at the beginning of this episode. In this segment, this really is the classic moment where, Marty has this impression of his mother that she's, and she said it. She's like, I would never sit in a parked car with a boy, and I would never do this, and I would never do that. And it's all BS. You find out that she was a teenager. She was a typical American teenager. As I said, pretty much most of the time we've seen her, I call her a horned up Lorraine. I mean, she is completely infatuated with this Calvin Marty Klein. And to the point where she's like, you got to ask me to the dance. He's like, okay, I will. And, Marty's sitting there. He's all nervous. He's all like, oh, boy. Hey, do you mind if we park for a little while? Now, as a kid, a 9-year-old kid in 1985, I was like, the car's parked. What do you mean? Like, I didn't realize that parked meant a thing. Like, oh, they went parking, they went up on Lover's Lane and they called it parking. I don't think I realized that's what it was called. And she's like, yeah, I'd love to park. Like, well, he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I'm almost 18, dude. It's not like I've never sat in a parked car with a guy before. So the Lorraine in the future is a BS artist. So we also find out that she's not a saint. She drinks and she smokes. Jesus, you smoke too? And you realize that, this was kind of the beginning. She's just, a typical teenager, but something happened along the way that caused her to keep drinking and drinking more. And I guess it's the life that George and these children gave her. So that's kind of depressing when you think about it. But Marty's like, you really shouldn't drink. You'll regret it in the future. And she almost looks like, what do you mean? Like, huh? Like the thought never crossed her mind. And then she lights up a smoke. And even as she says that, Marty's drinking too. So he's like, well, you know what? I guess so. I'm going to need it if I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do here. And she lights up a cigarette. You smoke too? And that's when she's like, Marty, you're beginning to sound a lot like my mother. And he gives this look like, oh, dun, dun, dun. That is there's another classic moment in this, very same setting, but that's for another day. This is pretty much close to the ending of the scene. We cut over back to the dance, and Marvin and the Starlighters are about to go on break. This actually leads to another line that I quote all the time. Wait, here it comes.
We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back in a while.
So, don't nobody go nowhere. I use that line all the time. So they go on break, and George looks up at the clock, and he's like, wait a second. Oh, my goodness. It's almost 9 o'clock. He then looks at his watch to confirm it, and right there is where the segment ends. But I've used that don't nobody go nowhere all the time. When I say I use these lines, I would say 95% of the time that I'm using these lines, I'm by myself. I'm talking to myself. I'm like talking to my dog. Every so often I might use them with my wife and my brother. Like there's quotes I would use with my brother, but sometimes those are Police Academy quotes and Cannonball Run quotes, but sometimes they're Back to the Future quotes. But a lot of the time I just say them because I like to say them. And this is another one I just like to say. I would say it. Ready? Let's go. Don't nobody go nowhere. I mean, come on. It just sounds cool and it's fun to say. And even though Marvin's taking a break, George is like, uh-oh, my break is over. It's time for me to get into action. But we don't see that today. We don't see that at all today as the segment ends. So what do we learn in this segment? Well, we learn that Marty likes to read out loud his own letters. Hopefully no one overheard him. And I'm really guessing and assuming that he bought some food so that maybe his stomach was feeling a little nauseous, so that he could say, hey, can I also have a pen, a paper, ink, and an envelope? And that's how he wrote the letter. We find out that Doc says he has a permit, but we're very happy that they deleted out most of that scene that I played. I wish they kept the part where he showed him bribing, because I think that works. I think that would have fit in fine, but nothing's lost without it. I think something would have been lost a little bit if they kept all of that in. So I'm very glad they didn't leave that in, because it just, as the kids say, that would not have aged well. It would not. So I'm very pleased as punch that happened. Of course, the great scene where we find out Lorraine, as a 47-year-old woman, kind of is BS when she's talking about how she was as a kid. She's kind of either like willfully ignorant or just kind of, I misremember, or she's just full of it. Because guess what? She was a teenager, just like Marty was a teenager, just like I'm sure Dave and Linda were teenagers recently too, just like George was a teenager. And now George is like, oh, I need to go get into action. But that action, my friends, comes tomorrow. I'll be here. Will you? I certainly hope so. But until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality. That's Blue Sky. Mostly Blue Sky. I still have a Twitter account. I still have a Threads account. I still have an Instagram account. I use Instagram sometimes. I use Threads very rarely, but at the point now, I think I use Threads more than I use Twitter. And I also love TikTok. You might be able to see a video with me wearing this pin, this amazing pin that I got from Eric, who was able to join me and my wife at her party last night. Thank you again, Eric, for this awesome pin. And I wonder, did you guess the song? So I sent the lyrics to that little Eric Clapton parody song that I played at the beginning of this. I sent those lyrics to Eric. He's like, ooh, this is good. He's trying to guess what the song was. And I wonder, I haven't heard from him yet, so I don't know if he wrote back to me yet. Nope, it doesn't look like he wrote back. So as of right now, I don't know if he guessed it. I'd be curious to find out if he figured it out before it started playing. But thank you again for this pin, Eric. And yeah, you can find me on TikTok. That's a long way of saying TikTok, Geek Mentality Mike, because I did a little video version of that Eric Clapton song that I'm posting right after I get this episode up. And of course, we have the Facebook page, which I barely use, Fans Not Experts, the YouTube channel, which is robust. I mean, everything I post gets posted to YouTube, whether it's video or just audio, it's on YouTube at Fans Not Experts. And of course, that's because the website is fansnotexperts.com. Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope everyone is enjoying the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you will be too. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome, my mom says. Please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode. Fans Not Experts.